Hello, students of Philosophy of Education. Welcome to week 4. This week we continue in our historical journey and we read text of John Dewey and Hannah Arendt. They wrote also about other stuff, reading texts of them on education. Dewey's text, chapters from the book Democracy and Education, was published in 1923. Arendt's text is later, was first published in 1961. Is one essay from a collection of essays in a book. John Dewey was a prominent philosopher of education and prominent scholar in general, prominent in the modern Western tradition, especially in the US, and considered one of the most prominent American scholars in the first half of the 20th century and the 20th century in general. Hannah Arendt was a German-born Jewish American political theorist that wrote also on education. While Dewey's book is more foundational, Arendt's essay is more critical. Dewey, a few words about each of those. Dewey had a profound belief in democracy, and he was also a major educational reformer. He opened a school. And he was a leader of progressive education, and in his school he also applied his theory and approach in philosophy of education and his progressive view. He wrote a lot about schools and society or civil society because he saw them as central elements in a democratic society that inform each other and contribute to experimental intelligence and plurality. He is one of the fathers, if you want, of pragmatism in the American tradition, or the modern American tradition, and notion of experiment or experiential life is also applied in his theory of education. In the text we read this week, Democracy and Education, he lays foundations for thinking about education as a crucial social activity, and you will see that he starts from a particular general reflection about life. Again, philosophy, if going back to week 1 and about philosophical thinking, philosophy does not take anything for granted, and that's why when someone starts from the foundations, they will start from something very, very basic, like life in this case. And Arendt, her works cover a broad range of topics. She's perhaps best known for those works dealing with notions of power and evil, but also she wrote about politics, democracy, also authority and totalitarianism. In this last aspect, she is popular. She wrote on the trial of Adolf Eichmann, and there was a lot of controversy on her work. And she, in that work, she tried to explain how a simple person becomes evil, an actor or agent of totalitarian regimes and systems. And she coined the phrase, the banality of evil. The particular text that we read this week, she opens with analysis of what she sees or saw, what she sees or saw as a crisis American education in late 50s or post-World War II, or crisis in Western education in general. A crisis which, in a way, she sees as a crisis about authority. In some sense, you will see that she calls for a conservative education, but not conservative in the common sense. She develops from this analysis and critique of the crisis. She develops a broad view on education that you are required to examine. So the two themes for this week, one for each thinker. So the first about Dewey's biological theoretical paradigm for education. You will see that he arrives at insights about education from what can be seen as biological paradigm about life. Maybe it's not surprising that someone that's trying to make foundational arguments about education and thinks back to features of philosophy in week one. We said that philosophy does not take anything for granted, so this case, life itself is not taken for granted. So he makes analogy between physiological life and social life. I'm asking you to explain this paradigm or framework and the meaning of it for education. Particularly, I'm asking to consider Jewish notions of social function, direction, and growth. And you'll see that those in the titles of the chapters. You will see that he's talking about environment and the nature of life to continue to strive and be. In addition, I'm also asking for your thoughts about his conclusion that since growth is the characteristic of life, education is all one with growing, it has no end beyond itself. The second issue, the second topic in this theme in this week is about Arendt's call to separate education from politics. You'll see that she criticizes the perception according to which education became an instrument of politics. She rejects this instrumentalism of education, and accordingly she rejects seeing education as a tool to pass a world or worldview from adults to children. She also has a closing sentence of this text, a famous text about the boundaries regarding our relations to the world and to children. What I'm asking you to do is use Arendt's theory on the relation between children and adults and her notion of natality, basically that we are born. And I'm asking you for your explanation, how you understand her call to separate education from politics or political life. Do you think it is possible, for example? I'm also asking for your thoughts about the closing statement of the text. Before I go, I just want to remind you again, assignment 2, where you are required to compare two philosophers from these weeks, 2 to 5. You probably might want to have at least one philosopher of education to work on and focus on, and very soon you also need a second one to compare. perhaps take two philosophers that talk about the same things, but not necessarily have the same views. So these all for me now, and I will see you on the online discussions. Bye.